Bluff City Media presents The Anthony Sain Show on YouTube at Bluff City Media. Stepping up to the microphone is your host, Anthony Sain.
Acknowledge me.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Anthony Sain Show. This is, of course, your host, Anthony Sain, here from the Bluff City Media Studios. Welcome you guys to another great, exciting show today. We got my boy Frank Bonner coming in for Sitdown with Sain. He, of course, covers the Tiger football team for the Daily Memphian. He's fresh off of getting back from AAC Media Days. Going to talk to him about that, talk to him about Tiger football. Of course, we're going to talk about Drake is not coming to Memphis. We're going to talk about that later on in the show, as well as the rest of the points we have in the three-pointer, as well. We're going to wrap the show up with Inside the Same Brain, where we're going to talk about something that's close to my heart and close to my stomach as well. I'm sick in the head, Kenny Stubblefield, about what we're going to talk about today.
This Inside the Same Brain feels very personal.
Yeah, it's going to be emotional, man. I ain't going to lie. It ain't many things that move the kid, but this is the one that's going to move me for sure. Ken, how you doing, brother? Good to see you across the glass, my man.
Man, listen, bro, it's another day. I love it's a good day, man.
Man,
well.
We're back in the studio ready to roll, man, for sure. But Kenny, since the last time we talked, damn it, the Tiger basketball team is headed to the DR.
They didn't take you up on their adult chaperone.
Nah, I told them, man, they needed me, man. I would have gladly been an adult chaperone for the team. Just give me about a rack for that week, and I could have made something happen. I could have made it happen for them for sure, man. So they declined that offer, and I am not on the DR trip. But everyone who could be there, who would like to be there, is there, including David Jones will be in the DR.
He'll be there.
Strange situation, man. I need somebody who's in the mix, like yourself, Kenny Stubblefield, to explain this situation to me more. There was a post on Instagram from the Dominican Republic basketball team that had David Jones, Tigers wing forward, at the Dominican Republic practice. Is that where he's from? He's from?
Yeah, he's from the DR.
Okay.
He is originally from the DR.
Okay, and I'm just gonna say how I think this makes sense. He's not technically eligible to play for the Tigers now, right? Because of the whole transfer
it's a paperwork thing, right?
Right.
Like he's finished all he needs to do. It's a paperwork thing. So right now he's not cleared to play for Memphis.
So they're basically kind of using that loophole to get him over there to get acclimated with the team.
Well, I think he's already going to play. I mean, I think he's going to play with the Dominican national team.
No, he can't play for the Tigers, I'm saying. Right?
No, he's not going to play for the Tigers.
Okay.
But he is a good enough player to where the national team brought him on board. So that's why he's there right now.
Right. So he's going to play against the Tigers.
Yes.
But just like I said, this is a way for him to get implemented with the Tiger team.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the behind the scenes stuff is. Are they going to bring him into the resort where they're staying at? Is he going to share rooms? I don't know what the deal is.
Well, it's not to prevent them from kicking it with him. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
No,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So they'll get him down here. That's going to be interesting to see. We won't see none of this shit because it's not going to be on television.
Don't even get me started.
Shout out to whoever's going to be holding up a phone for hours.
Yeah. Hey, we have somebody in the Discord that is actually a Grizzlies and Tigers fan who lives in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, wow.
Who might be going to those games.
It's okay. There shouldn't be any might to it. Is it a money thing? Because I'm sure somebody can.
No, I just trying to figure out his schedule, see if he can go or not.
I need your schedule to free you up to go to these games, man, for sure.
Are you really that concerned about these games?
No, not at all. Not at all. I expect them to look probably kind of rough. I'm sure they're not going to look like anything like we expect them to look, when the season starts. Plus, they're playing against pros, man. There are going to be some dudes over there. You got like two for sure NBA guys are going to be playing, man. And that's one for sure, Chris Duarte, who played real minutes for the Pacers. Since he's been in the league, and Lester Quinones.
He's a player, man. Chris Duarte's a player.
Yeah, and Lester's probably going to try to murder everybody over there.
Everybody.
You know what I mean? So I'm sure it's going to be fun for him. I think you were saying that, I was listening to On the Bluff today, and I think you were saying that that Karl Towns is on the team, but you don't know if he's going to play. Or
I mean, listen.
No
man.
way he's playing, bro.
Listen, bro.
Stop screwing around with that stuff.
Listen, he is playing for the Dominican national team.
Mm-hmm.
Will he play against the University of Memphis Tigers and
no way, bro.
with the Dominican national team? No. But how awesome would that have been?
Jordan Brown versus Karl Towns could be fun.
Karl Towns would give that man an 80 piece.
Yeah, I think he would too, man. Don't tell Lee Alwyn that. Inside joke for the Discord, which you can also be a part of. So you can get the joke for $5 a month. You can jump into the Bluff City Media.
Come be a part of the joke.
The Discord, yeah, come be a part of the joke. Join the Bluff City Media Discord. Shout out to my boy Lee Alwyn, man, who's a very optimistic Tiger fan, to say the least. But yeah, but it's definitely something to be excited about, man. They got this DR trip for the guys to gain some, some camaraderie. There are certain moments in life that you can, kind of create a brotherhood, a kinship with your teammates. And I'm sure being in the Dominican Republic is, I know a lot of guys who aren't basketball players who have a kinship
with the Dominican Republic.
With the Dominican Republic, yeah. A lot of guy trips go down. Team building. Yeah. Sounds fun. And the whole gang will be there, including guys like Jordan Brown, Jaquan Walton, Jalen Young, who just got eligible, just got cleared, and Javon Quinley. They're all expected to be down there. Matter of fact, they are confirmed to be down there, I think.
Oh, they're there now. Yeah, they're there.
Yeah, man. It's going to be good stuff.
Our boy Parth put out a video of them pulling up to the resort, and there's 12 guys there.
Yeah.
So
whenever, like, certain jobs come open, like, people who know me kind of know what I do and what that entails, right? And some people call me a commentator, like I'm Mark Jackson or something. You know what I mean? Like they'll say that type of stuff, and that's not what I do. And some people think like I write. Some people think I work for the Grizzlies, like I write for them. No, not quite. I don't really write. I don't write anything at all. So, but whenever like certain jobs come open, like Tiger beat writers, stuff like that, people are like, I'll get people inboxing me, hey, this position's open. I thought you might be interested, and all that type of stuff. And I always talk about like I have no interest in being a beat writer, especially for the Tigers, whatever. And I like the Tigers. I love the Tigers, but I wouldn't want to be a beat writer, for the team.
It's a different world, man.
But I ain't gonna lie, man. When you getting flown out to the DR on somebody else's dime,
shoot,
and you get like plenty of free time, you know what I mean? Like it ain't like you going over there to work in a warehouse, you know what I mean? You're going to watch a game for a couple hours, and the rest of the day is yours. You got to write a story, you got to put some tweets out, and the rest of the week is yours. You got 3 games, 2 days off. You got to shoot your stories out. Yeah, man. Shout out to the parts of the world and the Jason Munzes of the world for sure, man, who get to go out and...
That's a good life.
And shout out to Terry Davis, who he's saying he ain't out there, but I'm sure...
T-Deezy?
I'm sure my boy T-Deezy is in the place for sure, doing something egregious in the DR. It goes down in the DR, man, for sure. But yeah, I'm excited about it, man. Like I said, for those of you who will be out there streaming, I hope your guys' battery lasts. I'm not watching that shit on your phone, on Facebook, or wherever you decide to Ustream it. Was Ustream still around?
I think Ustream is still around, but last time they did it on that, what was that live stream? Periscope.
Periscope, yeah.
And Periscope's dead now.
Yeah, Periscope don't even exist, man. So, yeah. Facebook Live, I guess. It was like an old dude with some money who went last time.
Oh, yeah.
Was doing it.
Yeah.
And I want to say the guy got on and was like, people were saying they should do a GoFundMe or something. I don't know. Something they were saying they should do for him. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
It ain't that crucial, man. But that was a highly anticipated team too, man. That was the Wiseman team, right?
Yeah. That was that was DJ. That was all those guys. Yeah. That was the Wiseman team, 2019.
And I made a statement on Twitter, man, or X. Not damn all that. It's Twitter. I'm
still
not
Twitter.
I'm not calling that shit no damn X. Anyway, I made a statement on Twitter the other day, and that this is the most anticipated team to me since the Joe Jackson class, the class that had all those, 5-star, 4-star kids, Chris Crawford, Tarek Black.
Yeah, we had that conversation last night about which team is this the most anticipated team since the 2008 season. I would say it's that 2010, 11.
Yeah, that Joe Jackson class was more than this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean that 2008, then 2011, 2010, 2011 compared to this year. This team, though, this is by far, I think, the most hype that Penny is going to have. Yeah. Legitimate hype.
Easy.
Legitimate hype.
Yeah. Because that Wiseman team, we were just so giddy to see freaking recruits in here, man.
The number one recruiting class in the
Tubby
nation.
Smith, who was like, just, all right, hey, you want to play college basketball? I got a team. Come on, kid. Like, oh, okay, great. I get to be a D1 athlete.
Yeah, I get to go.
Look at this.
Hey,
Mom.
Look at me, Ma. Yeah, no, that was.
How did you do that, Johnny? You only play for the church. I know, huh?
Old Tubby.
For old Tubby. Oh, man. Yeah, but just to see a super dope recruiting class got you excited, but we were all premature excited. That team, super young, full of kids, and they weren't ready to really do anything substantial. But this feels real, man. You got older guys out there. Penny's, he's going into year 5 or 6.
This is 6.
This is year 6, yeah. So, you feel like Penny's got this thing figured out, and he's got a great team full of vets. Guys who are. I'm telling you, man, that the Bill Street boys are going to be tough in a few years, man. It's gonna be, who going to want to deal with them dudes in a couple of years, man? When you got Javon Quinones out there.
Man.
Who's going to deal with Jordan Brown in the TBT?
It was wild,
in a couple of years.
I don't know if you got to see it, but Christian Fowler did an interview with Javon Quinones.
No, it was dope. Dope as hell. Shout out to, I'm glad you said this. Shout out to Christian for sure.
It was crazy, man, because we remember, right? Like being in Memphis, covering high school sports, college sports, when the Jelly Fan became so popular in New York City.
Right.
And that Javon Quinones was one of the main guys that got that thing started.
Right.
And to hear him talk about it, the experiences that he had, and then to hear him describe the differences, like what would have been the case for him if NIL had been around.
Oh, man. With Jelly Fam, he would have been in high school getting paid.
He said it in the interview. He said, I say this with all humility, I'd have been a millionaire in high school.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
Yeah, he would have been like as big or bigger than what Mikey Williams is now.
He was one of the most impressive people I've ever had the chance to interview. And I didn't even get to interview him. I was just sitting in here behind the glass. But man, that guy was hella impressive to me.
Yeah, man, for sure. And if you haven't seen it, check it out, man. Javon Quinones, we got the one-on-one interview with him and Christian Fowler, as well as Jaquan Walton. Both of those are available on Bluff City Media. And when we come back, we're going to have to sit down with Sain with my boy Frank Bonner from the Daily Memphian, who covers the Memphis Tiger football team. He just got back from AEC Media Days. We're going to talk about that and more here on the Anthony Sain Show. We'll see y'all in a minute.
What's up, guys? I'm so excited to announce that we have partnered with Coaching for Literacy, and you can read more about them at coachingforliteracy.org or follow them on social media at Coaching for Literacy. Your subscription to Bluff City NIL is 100% tax deductible because of our partnership together. Thank you for supporting Memphis Tiger student athletes and helping promote the monumental cause of childhood literacy.
All right, y'all, welcome back to the Anthony Sain Show. Got my guest for the Sit Down with Sain today, my man, Frank Bonner from the Daily Memphian. He's the football beat writer for the University of Memphis Tigers, and he joins me now today. Frank, what's going on, my brother?
I'm doing all right. I appreciate you having me on.
Man, glad to have you here, man. Glad to have you here for sure, man. Before we get started, you are a native from the state of Indiana. You've been covering Tiger football for, I think, 3 years now? This is your third? You're about to go into your third season?
This will be my third season, my second year.
Okay, yeah. You're going into your third season covering the team. What's your sports story, man? Like, what were the teams you grew up watching, teams you grew up being a fan of, and what led you here to the city of Memphis covering Tiger football?
Oh, well, being an Indiana guy, we like to say it's the home of basketball. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, I was a big IU guy. Mm-hmm. My brother played at Bloomington North with Jared Jeffries and Sean May. And so when Jared went to IU, that was the first Final Four I watched when they played Maryland.
Right.
I became a North Carolina guy because Sean May was over there. So those were my two college teams. Obviously, watching the Pacers, Reggie Miller and whatnot. And then my favorite player was Steve Nash, so I became a Suns fan. Yeah. Was a Colts fan, obviously. I'm always a homer. But then my favorite player was Sean Alexander, so I became a Seahawks fan.
Right.
So that's kind of where my fandom lies right there.
Right. So how did you what was your path like as far as in journalism that got you here to Memphis?
Well, what was it? I was 16 years old when I knew I wanted to do this. Mm-hmm. I was in my English class, and somebody came to talk about doing the school newspaper when I was in high school. So I did it. I was like, I'll try it out, did a sports article, fell in love with it. And then from there, I went to IU, Indiana University, to major in journalism. Mm-hmm. After I did that, I covered high school sports for a couple years. Couldn't get any jobs covering pro or college, so I went back to grad school at IUPUI, came out, covered Oklahoma State football and basketball for 2 years in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Tulsa World, and then I landed here.
That's what's up, man. Like you said, you've been covering the team for a while. Always bringing interesting perspectives for the team, putting in the work as a beat writer. Been following your stuff for a while. Glad to have you in the city, man. Glad to have you here on Anthony Sain Show. You just recently got back from AEC Media Days last week. What were some of your main takeaways when you were there?
My main takeaway is, for one, a couple of different coaches talked about how inspirational Tulane's run was last year. I mean, they were picked, 7th, ended up winning the league. A lot of people mentioned that. But as far as this year goes, every coach will sit here and tell you, no matter what conference you're in, that, the conference race is wide open and so on. But I genuinely believe that these coaches believe that, there's a handful of teams where the championship is wide open for them. And so there's a lot of new opportunities there. Another takeaway that I took from my one-on-one with Commissioner Michael Resco,
right.
I asked him, with conference realignment, teams are looking to leave. Is there anything you can do to prevent them from leaving? And he was like, basically, no. Like, if teams want to leave, they're going to leave. And he didn't have any hard feelings about it. It's just part of the business, which was a real cool perspective from him to hear. Just that he doesn't take it personal.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much how he's got to feel about it.
You ain't got no other choice.
Yeah, because teams, is so much stuff going on with conference realignment. You know what I mean? As far as teams being here and not or not, we've seen the Big 12 adding Colorado, and they're probably not done adding, and we don't know about what's going to happen with the Pac-12 or whatever. It's all just wild stuff. Quarterback Steph Hennigan is entering his junior year. He still looks like a kid, and we kind of still want him to be freshman Steph Hennigan forever. But he's going into year 3. He's a junior now. What are your expectations for him as far as being a leader on the team? I know you wrote an article about that. What do you expect to see from Steph Hennigan this season?
Yeah, well, he's a veteran now. Like, to your point, he's no longer a young quarterback. He's an upperclassman. And honestly, because of the transfer portal and all that stuff, he's actually one of the most tenured players on that team, which is kind of crazy to say.
Right.
Him being a freshman, it seems like yesterday. But the step forward that he needs to take, if you look at the quarterbacks in this conference, right, people will tell you, Frank Harris, UTSA quarterback, and Michael Pratt from Tulane are probably the quarterbacks that you'll hear the most. Seth needs to be in that conversation with them. This is the year for him to be looked at as one of the top-tier quarterbacks in the conference going into his junior year, his 3rd year as a starter. And honestly, Memphis kind of needs him to be that if they want to take that next step and kind of bouncing back from those last 2 years. And so I think whatever young quarterback mistakes that you might have saw him make in his 1st and 2nd year, those all need to be gone.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. He looked so good his freshman year that you talked about, by the time this kid's a junior, he's going to be this. And, we're here now. Yeah. So, we'll see how that pans out. You also wrote about how the Tigers' offensive line, you talked about how they've improved. What have you seen so far that makes you think that they're going to be better this season?
Well, for one, they made a coaching change, Jeff Myers, and he seems to have before getting hired, he had already had a prior relationship with Ryan Silverfield. And talking to him and Ryan and even, Jacob Likes, one of the veterans on that offensive line, they seem to be on the same page really well. So first you got to get your head coach and position coach on the same page, and that seems like that's been checked off several times. And then the interior, you still have your interior starters there. Right. Jacob Likes, Jonah Gamble, and Damian Carter. And then the left tackle position and the right tackle position is still up for grabs. I like Macklin Pounders at the left tackle position. We remember he started the season opener against Mississippi State, so he's had some experiences, and they brought in some transfers in the trenches on the defensive line and the offensive line. Marcus Henderson, the Arkansas transfer, being one of them. You still got Terrence McClain there, and so I just think the continuity and the depth of that offensive line leads me to believe that they're going to be better than they were last year.
You here in Memphis, we've gotten kind of accustomed to the Tiger football team having this really dynamic, high-powered offense where they're scoring a lot of points and throwing the ball all over the field and scoring quickly. And, you just had this really high-powered offense over the years. That has really tailed off over the last few years. Their offense has been pretty bad. I mean, it hasn't been nearly what we saw in the past. But their defense has been good. What do you think? What do you think it will take for this team to kind of get things at least more balanced, where the offense is not like it used to be, but better than it's been over the last few years?
Well, like you mentioned, right, this is my 3rd season, And every
You ain't seen nothing but this.
right. And every offseason, the main conversation has been, as far as the offense is concerned, is the run game, right? I know in the past you've had Kenny Gainwell, Tony Pollard, and they've had some solid running backs since I've been here, right? They've had the running back talent, but for whatever reason, the run game hasn't been as effective as fans have seen in the past. I think that's the main key that is kind of holding this offense back, is getting that run game. Because if you get that run game going, that open things up more for the pass. It takes a little bit of pressure off Seth Hennigan. He's got some new receivers, and he's got to get that chemistry. And the offensive line and that run game have to be strong for everything else to work.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that as well. And it could, like you said, with the offensive line getting better, maybe that can help, the run situation as well. Something else that you have to really look at with the whole team this year is that last year they were 4th in the conference. And Ryan Silverfield's gotten a lot of criticism over the years. What are some of your realistic expectations for him and what a lot of people are calling a make-or-break year for him?
I think with 2 or 3 games left in the season, they still need to be in contention for a spot in the conference championship.
Right.
Now, whether they end up ending on the outside looking in, we'll see. But there still needs to be that totem pole to play for in the last 2 or 3 games in the season. And I know people have asked me, like, what do you think the number is in terms of wins or losses? Is it 8 wins or whatever? And what I always say that, people have landed around the 8-win mark. And I say, well, it depends on which 8-4 season
they're
you're
not
looking
going to be
at.
the same. Yeah,
Right. And so if you're looking at, if they win all 4 conference games and find a way to beat Missouri and Boise State, and they still manage to win, end up being 8-4, that means they went 4-4 in the conference.
Right.
Well, that's not good enough, right? But if they happen to lose against Boise State, Missouri, and end up 8-4, that means they win 6-2 in the conference, and 6-2 in the conference should land you in the conference championship.
Right.
So it kind of really depends on what they do in the conference that really kind of solidifies how fans will view this season, especially since a lot of people are looking at this league as a watered-down league after Cincinnati and those teams left, and you've got other teams coming in. People are looking at Memphis to kind of be that big fish in a small pond, and this is the year they need to do that.
Well, Frank, something you may not know about Memphis is that we get kind of fickle when it comes down to, our Tiger football, just being honest with you. And in years past, like, if they're struggling, it's not going to be good for them the second half of the season, because once Tiger basketball kicks in, it gets kind of shaky for them as far as people having fan interest. This year's Tiger basketball team has a lot of anticipation. What do you think it would take to keep people glued in and focused on this team? Like you said, their out of conference schedule isn't the best, but you said you kind of expect them to be 2-2 or something like that going into conference play or whatever. What do you think? What should keep people watching this team this year?
Well, yeah, I expect them to be more so 3-1, right? Because they need to split.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Missouri or Boise State. I was just saying if they happen to lose those, it's not the end of the world as far as the conference standings go.
Right.
But to your credit in terms of keeping the fan base going, they need to come out the gate in those first 3-4 weeks and handle business.
Right.
That's how you're going to keep the fans engaged, because if you come out and you lose to Boise and you lose to Missouri, folks are already thinking that you're going to drop the ball in the conference schedule because like you said, I've seen some of the fickleness.
Right.
You lose a game or two, and folks are kind of checking out. So they do, and they have to kind of win. And I hate to kind of say this in terms of because I'm not a big fan of style points. Like if you win the game, you win the game. But Memphis does necessarily need to win in an exciting fashion in terms of looking like they are a team that you could get behind. And you don't want them to have to go down the wire every game and pull a win out of their behind. You want to see them kind of assert some of their dominance, especially against Navy and Arkansas State and obviously Bethune-Cookman. You want to see them look like a team that you shouldn't have stepped on the field with.
Yeah, I'm with you for sure. It's gonna be hard though, man. Penny's got a nice thing going on over there.
Well, I mean, it's hard to compete with a Penny Hardaway anyway.
Yeah,
as far as fandom goes.
Yeah, so we'll see how that plays out, man. I'm pulling for them though. I'm pulling for Tiger football. They can keep the fans engaged. It might be the year, man. We need them to get it going. So we'll see. In the light of everything that happened with Northwestern in the hazing situation, just a nasty, terrible situation. Coach Silverfield shared some of his thoughts on their particular anti-hazing policy at the University of Memphis. You wrote about this as well. What were some of the things that he said about that, and what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, for one, I think when something like that comes out, every athletic director, every coach in the country is making sure that things are going right in their own home. I mean, you have to, right? And Ryan said that. He said that they don't shy away from talking about current events in the media. So when the Northwestern stuff came on, he addressed that with his team, and they talked about it. And the thing that I think is good for Memphis, and this was before the Northwestern stuff came out, just in terms of some of the stories I've done in the past on Matt Barnes and Tim Cramsey and the players talking about how much time they spend in the locker room with the players and just getting to know them and just having that player-coach interaction. Well, what that does is that allows the coaches to know what's going on in the locker room. And you may not be doing it to monitor them, but the fact that you are in there helps monitor what that looks like, what the fun, the so-called fun or the horse playing looks like. Is it going too far? And I feel like Ryan and the rest of that staff has a pretty good pulse on what's going on in there because they're in there so much. I talked to Jalen Allen, and he said that you see Ryan all the time, and Ryan feels pretty comfortable in knowing just the pulse of what's going on with that program. Right,
for sure. Something else that you talked to Coach Silverfield about is the funding situation. The fund topic everyone is talking about right now is how the funds from the state going to be allocated between FedEx Forum, between Liberty Bowl. I call it the Liberty Bowl still. I know it's called something else, but we're not going to get into the small things right now. But no,
Liberty's still in the name there somewhere.
Yeah, Liberty Bowl, man. There's some other places in Memphis that we'll never stop calling them what they are too, what they used to be. Like, still people call U of M Memphis State, so it's just kind of where we are. What do you think? How do you think the funds should be allocated?
Well, obviously, you talked about this with a couple other people on your podcast I've seen, and I think everybody's in consensus that you've got to take care of your professional team, right? But also the other part of that is the notion that 100% of the 150 to 200 million for the Liberty Stadium needs to necessarily come from this. I don't know if it does need to be that, right? Because usually from kind of what I know, that when a renovation like this happens, universities usually depend on a lead gift, right? A lead donor to give some type of money. Now, I don't know what that lead gift would be for Memphis, but you do anticipate some other funding away from whatever cut of the pie they're going to get here. So I think that does give Memphis a little bit of comfortableness in knowing that the money they get, it should be enough. But to your point, the Grizzlies have to be taken care of. We know kind of how things can, and you may know this more than I do. It seems like the Grizzlies and the city of Memphis have a good relationship, but you can see how that type of stuff can change on a dime when stuff like this happens, right? So as a city, you got to take care of the Grizzlies, and hopefully you're able to take care of Memphis in the process too.
Yeah, we talked, like you said, we've talked about this with everyone who's came on the last few weeks, and you got to take care of the protein. I mean, it just kind of is what it is, man. Another big topic right now going around, everyone is talking about, is conference realignment, like we hinted at earlier. What do you think? Everyone, of course, is talking about the Big 12, and Memphis right now appears to be on the outside looking in as far as what can possibly go down. We've heard some information that kind of leads to Memphis is kind of in the running, but most people feel like Memphis is not going to make it in the Big 12 right now, and that teams like Arizona are going to get pulled from the Pac-12. An interesting conversation I've heard a couple people get into is should the Tigers program try to make a play and get into the Pac-12 if the Pac-12 is going to get poached to two teams? And the return that most people say is, well, that kind of feels like what the Big East was when Memphis got into the Big East a few years back, and then the Big East didn't exist anymore, and you're going to a conference that is probably going to get pillaged again. Do you think Memphis should stay where they are and try to plan for the Big 12, or should they consider a possible invite from a conference like the Pac-12 that's getting poached as we speak?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should consider all options, right? Because it's not 100% guaranteed that the Pac-12 is going to continue to get poached. Now, that's what we think. But if you remember when Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12, we were saying the same thing about the Big 12, and all of a sudden the Big 12 looks like they got stability.
Yeah.
And so we don't know what the other dominoes are going to be. But what I will say in terms of Memphis's chances to be in a Power 5 conference, the more chaos, the better it is for Memphis, right? The more team movement there is, because there's only, there's X amount of teams in the country, right? So when there's more movement going on, Memphis is going to be on the short list, you presume, of any movement. And so if they're a third on the short list, well, when there's movement and those other two teams leave, then Memphis is first. So, like, the more chaos, I think, the better. Yeah. And if the Pac-12 comes calling, you go, because there's no guarantee that you're going to go to the Big 12. So anybody who is reaching out to Memphis or wants Memphis, they've got to take it. They got to jump on it.
I like that optimism for sure, man, because it does feel like it's like, it doesn't feel like this is going to end now. It feels like everybody's going to expand to where everybody's probably got 16 teams. If that's the case, Memphis is probably going to get called up. And some soon wave that's coming. You know what I mean? It just, I like that optimism that you have for sure. But for the time being, Memphis is in the AAC. What do you think the best case scenario would be for them this season? Like, as far as like on the field with football, what do you think the best case scenario would be for them?
You mean, I think, like, what do I think their ceiling is?
Yeah, like if they're still in the AAC now, what type of optimism can you provide for them this season?
Also, so competition-wise, being in the AAC, like, because there's two different conversations, right? In terms of the alignment, there's the money factor,
right,
and then there's the competition factor. The competition factor, the AAC is great for them, especially looking towards next year when you get that 12-team playoff, whatever, because they're in a position to where they should be able to compete for a conference championship, right? They should be in that mix with Tulane and UTSA. So I think they're in a good – and then if you look at their schedule, they don't have UTSA on the schedule. They play Tulane at home. They play SMU at home. And so the schedule shakes out for them well. And so they will have their opportunities to win games. And if you look under Ryan Silverfield in the past 2 years, like when you look his past 3 years, his first year, they had a good year. They were in a lot of close games, and they won those games. These last 2 years, they were in a lot of close games, and they didn't win them. But the fact of the matter is, in all 3 years, they were in position to have opportunities to win games. And so I don't think that that's going to necessarily change this year. They just got to figure out how to get it done. Yeah,
I can see that too, especially like you said, with UTSA and Tulane. Like, if you can just be in the mix with those teams, you're competing possibly to be in that playoff coming up soon.
Right.
So they just have to make sure they're at the top of the conference, which it shouldn't be that hard, man. You know what I mean? This Memphis program has been able to recruit at a decent level and to just, turn guys who might not be the best players into good players. So, you'd expect that they can stay among the top, in that conference or whatever. Since you've been here, what's been your favorite Memphis Tiger football moment since you've been here in Memphis?
My favorite Memphis Tiger football moment. Now, this is I wasn't here in 2019 or anything like that. And so I guess the moment I will say is watching Brandon, like my first season.
Because you and Steph came here at the same time, right? His freshman year was your freshman. Okay.
And my first season, and folks may have forgotten this, but Brandon Thomas in those first 3 games or 3 or 4 games, he was nice. I mean, he was, and so like this, I was like, this is the run game that I've been hearing about Memphis. So being able to watch Brandon Thomas do that in those first few games was exciting to see. And it just sucks that I know he had some injury issues, and he fumbled the ball a couple times, and since then he hasn't gotten it going. But watching him be at his best during that time, I think was pretty exciting.
Are you a fan of the other teams here in Memphis? Has it kind of latched on to you?
Well, yeah, you embrace you almost have to, right? Yeah. You embrace it. And then the Grizzlies, for people who are from Indiana, the Grizzlies are always gonna feel away, because I call my brother. So like when you talk about Bonzi Wells, who's from Muncie, where I grew up in before I went to high school in Indianapolis, Zach Randolph from Marion.
Mike Conley had Indiana ties.
Yeah, right. And so we view these guys a certain way because we're from their home state.
Right.
But I didn't realize how much Memphis embraced Zach Randolph the way you guys do until I got here. And I called my brother. I was like, man, they loving him out here.
Yeah, fit for the city.
Yeah, I was like, they look at Zach Randolph the way we look at Reggie Miller back at home.
Oh, yeah.
And so like to see that, I mean, you got to be a fan of the Grizzlies. Then you got Desmond Bain from Richmond, Indiana. Yeah. And so, like, Grizzlies have a lot of Indiana ties where if you're from Indiana and you're really immersed in basketball, you always going to have your eye on the Grizzlies.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. So what have you thought about what they've done so far in the offseason? Derrick Rose, Marcus Smart.
Man, I love the Marcus Smart move. and for so many reasons, but the main one is you look at Dillon Brooks. Obviously, Dillon Brooks made some bonehead decisions at inopportune times in games, but he did a lot of good things for Memphis as well. And so when you don't bring Dillon back, not only do you lose some of the bad decisions, but you lose a lot of the good. You still need to replace that. Well, who better than Marcus Smart?
Yeah.
I mean, the things that Dillon Brooks does well, Marcus Smart does those same things, and you could argue even better.
Right.
And so to be able to replace the good things about Dillon Brooks with a Marcus Smart, who's also going to be more responsible with his shot selection, I think is great. And then with Derrick Rose, I know what he means to the city already, but also just to have that. I think one of the things that the John Morant situation stuff brought about is that, like, the locker room needs a little bit more maturity.
Right.
Marcus Smart and Derrick Rose brings that to the locker room. So I think those two moves were great moves for the Grizzlies.
Final question for Frank Bonner of the Daily Memphian. Appreciate you coming out today too, man. Final question for you. What's it like? You're a young black man working in the black market, working with a lot of black athletes. What's that like to be, because a lot of markets you may go to, like the market you came from, ain't like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so what's
right?
that like, man, just being in a market where you can feel more amongst, people that look like you or whatever?
We talked about this.
Yeah.
We talked about this a couple of times, man. It's very refreshing to come to a market like Memphis and to see so many black faces at.
Because I remember when we first got together, you was like, "Oh man, black people."
Yeah. Okay. So right. Especially when you were one of you were. Outside of obviously my coworkers, you were the first person to reach out to me in the city when I touched down, which was like already refreshing to see that and to see that I'm not the only black person in the press box. I'm not the only black person at practice or whatever. It allows you to have a comfortability about yourself that we don't always get the space to have.
Right.
And so to be able to just kind of exhale and be less of a code switcher, I should say, is very refreshing.
Yeah, man, because we had Jarvis Greer on, and I talked with Jarvis about how, like, when I was a kid, I never was like, well, you can't be black and do this because I saw Jarvis. But there's so many guys in the city now, man. You know what I mean? You got guys on the news. Every news station has a person of color on there. You got black women. You got a ton of people in this market for the young people, the next generation to look up to, including yourself, man. And I appreciate what you're doing, man. Glad you could come on today. My man, Frank Bonner from the Daily Memphian. Check him out. Covers Tiger football. It's going to be a big year for the Tigers this year. And Coach Ryan Silverfield, brother, I appreciate you coming on with me.
I appreciate you.
All right, y'all. We're about to take a break. When we come back, it's a three-pointer here on the Anthony Sain Show. See y'all in a minute.
What's up, guys? I'm so excited to announce that we have partnered with Coaching for Literacy, and you can read more about them at coachingforliteracy.org or follow them on social media at Coaching for Literacy. Your subscription to Bluff City NIL is 100% tax deductible because of our partnership together. Thank you for supporting Memphis Tiger student athletes and helping promote the monumental cause of childhood literacy.
Welcome back to the Anthony Sain Show. Just wrapped up with my boy Frank Bonner from the Daily Memphian. Good interview with Frank, man. Frank's a guy that I met a few years ago, Kenny, for those of you who don't know, I created a group of for the black men in Memphis who cover Memphis sports. And I think Frank had like just moved to town. And I invited him out to a meeting we were having, man, and the brother just had a look of relief on his face because he was saying, like, you know what I mean? He was like, he was amongst people who looked like him, sounded like him.
Yeah.
And Paris is a part of that group as well. Paris is back in the back today with you while you're recording, and it's just great, man. It's just a great organization that we got started a few years ago for the black men in Memphis who, you know, cover Memphis sports, man. Shout out to all the brothers over there, man, and guys like Frank who are out here just kicking ass.
I want to shout you out though too, man. Like people have a misconception of who you are, Anthony.
I'm aware of that, Ken.
And I think that a lot of folks look at you and they think Anthony's a jokester. He's a dude who just likes to play too much, whatever. But they don't know the stuff you do behind the scenes, man.
Yeah,
I just want to give you your flowers, man.
Appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, man. Shit. I appreciate you, Ken. You didn't have to do all that, but I appreciate you, man.
I'm here for you, man.
Yeah, it's all good, man. I want to see brothers win, man. So, and guys like Frank, they kind of, when I started that group, you know what I mean? He's one of the guys I constantly think about that's worth, doing it for. But yeah, the 3-pointer, man. Number 1, Drake cancels his show in Memphis. Kenny, I kind of pride myself in being, I call myself many things, man. I call myself the voice of the voiceless. As you can see, as I just talked about, I call myself the voice of the voiceless. I call myself the tribal chief of Grizz Twitter. I call myself a media pop star sometimes, Kenny Stubblefield. And I think no time like yesterday was I able to flex on y'all that I am
You flexed the pop star.
Yeah, I'm not one of these dudes, man. I'm not your typical sports journalist guy. I'm not him. I'm him, but I'm not that. You know what I mean? So I was able to flex that on y'all and kind of calm down the masses yesterday. Had to call some of my people, man. When pop news happens, pop stars have to rise to the occasion, Kenny.
Right.
That wasn't the sports journalist news yesterday I dropped on everyone. But I talked to the people at the FedEx Forum and got more detailed information about the Drake concert. They basically were saying that there were accommodation issues, that there were certain things as far as the set up and breakdown of the show that's supposed to be here on August 6th that prevented them from making that show happen. And just from paraphrasing and just my interpretation, this wasn't particularly said by them, but just me looking at the logistics of it all. You had a Milwaukee show that got pushed back a day. You're supposed to be on August the 3rd. It got pushed a day ahead to August the 4th. These concerts usually end 12, midnight, 1 in the morning, I'd assume, something like that. You're talking about probably, even with an immediate breakdown, you're talking about breaking down that show sometime off, which is going to be the 5th. You're talking about breaking down all, for hours, however long it takes on the 5th, getting this stuff down to Memphis the same day pretty much, having it set up for a show on the 6th where Drake has to come in, rehearse, all these type of things. I talked to other people other than people at FedEx Forum, and I heard different numbers because they said these are 18-wheelers that are coming that would have to come down to Memphis, multiple. I was like, are you talking multiple like 8 or multiple like 20? They was like, no, think more like 40, 50. 18-wheelers have to go from Milwaukee to Memphis. So you can imagine a breakdown time if you got that many 18-wheelers worth of stuff that have to come down to Memphis. So it really sucks, man, because I'm a Drake fan. I will defend Drake probably to the grave. There are a couple things I won't defend Drake on if he ever gets involved in. But I am a Drake advocate for sure. I don't think that he has any. I don't think he's did any of this to slight Memphis. Like I said, I think this tour may not have been planned out very well because they're constantly making changes on the tour. They're constantly, they're realizing that certain things logistically they thought were going to work aren't particularly working. And Memphis got caught up in a numbers game on that. It's very unfortunate. I would like to see it get rescheduled. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen, and the city of Memphis will miss Drake again.
Can I add one thing to it?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
As somebody who used to do tours across the country, not to that level.
You weren't doing.
We used to pack up my Acadia and travel across the.
You're right. But even with that though, imagine.
Yeah, I know how much work it took just to do that. Yeah. Right. I can guarantee you that Drake was not sitting up in Toronto in his big mansion that he has there, and he just decided, you know what, man? Screw Memphis.
Yeah.
That was a decision that was made way above even his head, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure he has the final say-so. Even his people have the final say-so. But I can guarantee you that decision was not made by Drake.
And I'm going to tell you what I'm kind of tired of. I'm glad you said that, but I'm going to tell you what I'm tired of. All the negative assumptions, man, like, oh, they weren't selling tickets. Because I thought that's what it was because that's what people were saying. Like, people were saying the whole time that it was a ticket sale issue. And then when people were like, no, man, like, this show was selling good. This show was basically a sellout. And the people from the FedEx Forum said the same thing. It's not an issue with tickets. It also was not an issue with what the FedEx Forum can hold or anything structurally with the building. It seemed to me like it was strictly just a timing thing. Like things just got pushed back because of how long it takes to move from one city to another, breakdown. You're talking about 40, 50 trucks You know, that's damn, man. Like, you know, this is Memphis. You know, we work in logistics capital of the world.
Right. It's a logistics
50
thing.
trucks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff, bro.
Yeah. It's a lot.
So I can understand the whole thing. It sucks. I wouldn't go in regardless because I ain't, I just, you know, I ain't got it like that to drop off, you know, $500 to go see Drake. But I would love to have been there. And I hate it. It sucks for sure. But number 2, the NBA sent out a memo regarding Damian Lillard. This is wild stuff,
This is
man.
a wild story,
Yeah,
man.
I'm going to read a couple parts from that memo that went out. Recent media reports stated that Damian Lillard's agent, Aaron Goodwin, called multiple NBA teams to warn them against trading for Lillard because Lillard's only desired trade destination is Miami. Goodwin also made public comments indicating that Lillard would not fully perform the services called for under his player contract if traded to another team, basically saying he wouldn't play anyone else. We have advised Goodwin and Lillard that any future comments made privately or teams or publicly suggesting Lillard would not fully perform the services called for under his player contract in the event of a trade will subject Lillard to discipline by the NBA. We also have advised the Players Association that any similar comments by players or their agents will be subject to discipline going forward. Just to let you know, Kenny Stubblefield, I'm a very pro players guy. When
You've
it comes
always
to
been
the
that
NBA.
way, yeah.
Always. Power to the players. This situation here, man, is just a little bit too much for me. Like, Dame's situation is kind of unprecedented. You're talking about a guy who has 2 to 3 more years left on his contract. He's not in the final year of his deal. He's got 2 more years before he's a free agent. And he's telling you, we see guys all the time say, I want out of here. I want to play for a contender. This is my teams I prefer. And teams kind of make something happen. You can debate on whether they could have got more or could have got less. This Miami situation, this dude's saying, I want to go to this team and this team only. And it's just, I think it's just a bull crap.
And if you don't send me there,
I'm
might
not going to play. Like, that's just a little
That's
too much
wild.
for me. So if I know if it's too much for me, I know it's too much for Adam Silver. And I'll tell you how I think that this is going to play out. And then especially when Miami's like, okay, because Miami could make this deal happen. They could say, okay, we'll trade you Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero, and okay, great, let's make this deal happen. You know what I mean? But the fact that they're saying, bro, we're not giving you this, and this, you're going to take this, like that whole thing is going to come back and bite them. And
Absolutely.
I think, I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen. And I think you're going to see something unprecedented with this. I think that Adam Silver is going to jump in, and this is going to be his I've got more balls than y'all think I have moment that people have been begging him to make, that he didn't make with Ja Morant. Because people were begging him to just kill Ja. And I told people that's not happening. But this might be that moment where Adam Silver said, let me show you I got more nuts than y'all think I got. And he might say any trade between Miami and Portland ain't happening. I can see him saying that, man. I could totally see Adam Silver being like, nah, you can't trade him to Miami and taking him off the table. And it would be similar to the Lakers thing with Chris Paul a few years ago where David Stern totally vetoed the trade. You know what I mean? We've seen this happen before.
As a player guy, would you be okay with him doing that?
For this particular situation, man, because I hate the Miami Heat like the way I do. No, I'm joking. No, take all that off the table. It's just so unprecedented, man, because like I understand what Dame wants to happen, but dude, like saying you're only gonna play for this team and this team only, that's strong words, man. Like you're totally like, I think if Adam Silver lets that happen, he's opened up the door to a lot of stuff.
No holds barred.
Yeah,
situation.
it's like literally where players are just gonna say, okay, my contract means absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I predicted this to be ugly when it first happened, and I don't think it's gonna get any cuter from today. But yeah, number 3, Steph Curry in the interview was asked to name the best defender, the guy who's ever defended him the best. And he basically said in a quote, there's a group of 3 that always a light bulb went off when they're on the court. And he said, Drew Holiday, Ron Artest, and Tony Allen. The Tony Allen, the grandfather from the Memphis Grizzlies. Steph Curry said that Tony Allen is amongst the 3 best defenders that he's ever seen. And I think I agree with him. If I was Steph Curry, I'd probably say the same thing because we've saw Tony Allen make Steph Curry flat out work.
Do we know how many games he matched up against Tony and games he matched up against Ron Artest?
He saw I know he said that he didn't. He admitted he didn't play Ron Artest a lot. He probably saw Tony Allen a lot, man. Because I'm gonna tell you what else that probably came from too, as well as Drew Holiday. Those are guys that were older than Steph, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say Drew Holiday is older, same age maybe.
I think they might be.
I know Tony's older than him.
Yeah, Tony's older.
But this is the point. I think that those were guys that, because there was a time where Golden State was good, but they weren't good. And we used to bully Golden State. I don't know if y'all remember that. There was we had beat Golden State like 8 or 9 straight times or something like that. We were beating up on them a lot. And I think that when you're a young player and a guy like Tony Allen is just in your ass like that, I'm sure that guy has a like a memory block, like reserved for you.
There's some like trauma there.
Yeah, exactly. and I think that's also why whenever Steph would do things against us, it seemed like it just felt that much better than him.
It felt different for him.
You know what I mean? Because I'm sure Tony was a load, man, for sure. To deal with.
You know what's funny is I read that, and I obviously appreciate any grandfather love. I think it's dope.
Right.
But the part that was interesting to me is what he didn't say, and that's that. Who's the guy that presents himself as as his arch nemesis?
Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks,
Yeah.
Patrick Beverly,
Yeah, he didn't give props to none of them.
he didn't give props to any of those dudes
Get
that
y'all
he's
ass out
played. He didn't give props to Pat Bev at all, and I think that is so funny to me, man. Because Pat got a podcast now talking about how he's the
Steph stopper,
the OG of the NBA. You put me on any team, we're a championship contender, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And he didn't even mention him at all.
But back to what I was saying about these are all guys who, back before Steph really found his groove, probably were busting his ass. Drew Holiday, Tony Allen, and Ron Artest probably getting the best of him before he became full-blown Steph. And Steph probably don't think none of these dudes can deal with him now. So, yeah. That's what's up, though. Shout out to Steph Curry giving Tony Allen, the grandfather, his props. And that's the three-pointer for this week. And when we come back, we'll talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart as well as my stomach for Inside the Same Brain. When we come back on the Anthony Sain Show. See you guys in a minute.
What's up, guys? I'm so excited to announce that we have partnered with Coaching for Literacy, and you can read more about them at coachingforliteracy.org or follow them on social media at Coaching for Literacy. Your subscription to Bluff City NIL is 100% tax deductible because of our partnership together. Thank you for supporting Memphis Tiger student athletes and helping promote the monumental cause of childhood literacy.
Welcome back to the Anthony Sain Show, final segment of the show. We call this Inside the Same Brain, where I talk about something that's just been on my mind, Kenny Stubblefield. Typically, it doesn't have anything to do with sports, but this one is a very important subject to me. I was on Facebook the other day, last weekend, and I see a post that one of my favorite eateries, definitely a guilty pleasure spot, is a good hood eatery, is coming to a close, Kenny Stubblefield. I got a little bit of relief today when I read an article in the Commercial Appeal saying that what I thought was going to be, I thought it was gone. I thought the restaurant was gone already, but they said they're not closing until later on this year. It could be anywhere between 2 months to 5 months. Who knows? But it's only 5 months left in the year, so we're counting down. We know we're on borrowed time. And that place is Roxie's Grocery, Kenny Stubblefield. Kenny, have you ever heard of, so far when it comes down to things that I wonder, would a white guy like yourself know about, Kenny?
Right.
You did know what
Season
in the tub was.
Yeah,
you knew what that was.
Yeah.
You knew what Rotel was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was something you didn't know. But I can't remember what it was.
There's a lot I don't know.
But right now you're batting pretty well, Kenny. So are you familiar with Roxie's Grocery?
I am familiar with Roxie's Grocery. I've never been there.
You've never been there?
No.
Well, Kenny, I'm glad you said that. We now have time. We will have to go check them out.
We're going.
It's an experience. The word grocery is used very loosely. Let me say that.
Take me on a experience. What's the experience like there?
The experience is this. There are no windows. It's a place probably no bigger than our studio, than this area we call our studio. Not this room, but the combined space between my room and your room. It's about that big total. Probably a little bigger than that. But it's your basic corner store type setup. It's in the uptown community, which was not a real thing when I was a kid. It was North Memphis when I grew up, and now it's in uptown. And they cook burgers and food there pretty much in an open space. Like there's an open space where they're cooking at. Then there's like your basic corner store with chips, drinks, cookies, that type of stuff, right? Whatever.
I bet the smell is amazing.
Right, it smells like burgers the entire time you're in there.
Ooh.
And there's grease on everything.
Okay.
Everything in the store has a layer of grease on it.
So you walk in, you smell it. You walk in smelling fresh. You walk out smelling like grease.
You're cooking it out in the open. Like you're out.
100%.
They're cooking burgers right there in front of your face.
Yeah.
Incredible patties, like beautiful pieces of meat that you see them kind of, flatten down or whatever. Super juicy burger, man. Huge burger. Fries are amazing. I've had people say their chili is really good. I've had nothing but their cheeseburgers. Nothing but their burgers and fries. I heard they got wings and all kind of stuff that's really good. But just a hood store, man. A lot of people will tell you it's the best burger in Memphis. I stamp it as the best burger in Memphis.
Damn.
It's major, man. It's serious. And when you go in, man, you would think that you're just gonna see a lot of, hood dudes in there, man. I've seen like important people, like people on their, like people who work downtown on their hour, on their hour break coming in there. And just usually a group of guys and older guys in the back like yard of the place, playing dominoes or just having conversations about this, that, and the other. And it's just, yeah, man, we going, bro. Like we going soon, man.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Because it's like there was a thing on Facebook, a meme one time that said that you and all the kids in your neighborhood went outside and played for the last time, but you didn't realize it was the last time.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? That's pretty dope. And that's how I feel about Roxie's. Like I know that I'm running out of time with this place, so I would definitely go there as much as I can and get as many of those burgers.
Who took you the first time to Roxie's?
And that's another thing too about Roxie. I'm glad you said that. Like I kind of heard of Roxie's, but I had never been until I was like a good and grown adult. Like probably in the last 5 or 6 years, I went for the first time because they were in some type of trouble about closing down not too long ago, but they stuck it out, man. It's tough. Oh, let me read this quote on there too. Owner Floyd Red Miller said Monday that the family plans to close their restaurant later this year. A closing date has not been set. For 4 decades, Roxie's Grocery at 520 North 3rd Street has been serving Memphians. The grocery was founded by Floyd, who is known as Red, and Roxie Miller, and it's today run by the couple and several of their children. Yeah, man, it's one of those spots where they might be open today, they might not. You might take a trip and they're not actually open. They might be closing earlier than you thought, opening later than you thought, but you just you deal with it because it's Roxie's and it's amazing. It's going to suck to see them go. I'm going to try to dine there as often as I can between now and whenever they close, man. But yeah, pour out some liquor, some libations for Roxie's Diner for sure. But yeah, man, it's been another Anthony Sain show. It's been a good one. Shout out to my man Frank Bonner, who came in and rocked with me today, who covers Tiger football for the Daily Memphian. Great interview with him. Yeah, man, exciting things to come. Props to the Tiger basketball team out in the DR. They play Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That's
Ken?
right. That's right.
Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, the Tigers will be playing. To my bootleg streamers out there, props to y'all, man. Make sure y'all put that on Twitter or YouTube or whatever you're doing. StreamYard, whatever you're doing out there in the DR. Props to y'all, man. Hope y'all have a great time. Be safe and have fun out there in the DR. The Tiger fans who are making that trip. And we'll see you guys on Friday for another Anthony Sain show. We'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to the Anthony Sain Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next week.